just found it really strange. Maybe you're right. Maybe rewatching it and not expecting it. I think just when you're watching it, it was just a bit like, oh man, what
bit
happened?
of an anticlimax.
I just didn't really care about the characters as much in the second half. It was like, and also the main character makes so many bad decisions that it was kind of hard to like maintain sympathy with him.
So we've got another Second Sight Films package to review. It's another celebrated horror release on the dual limited edition and standard editions 4K packs. So it's called When Evil Lurks. We've reviewed this before. Chris and I reviewed it about 2 years ago. I think it was October 2023 it came out. We both gave it 4 stars. We both really enjoyed it. It's an Argentinian shocker, now released on 4K. We thought we'd revisit and obviously get Dan's input as well. How are you, Dan?
I'm good, yeah, thank you very much. It's busy as ever. We're about to hit a bit of a new period of like really good horror. It's been a bit of a like slow few weeks, so that's quite exciting. There's the new Frankenstein coming towards the end of the year on Netflix.
Yeah.
There's the fourth Conjuring film, which I refuse to be excited about, but I'll probably go and see it. I generally don't do exorcism movies, which I'm guessing like is When Evil Lurks a bit of a sort of possession movie.
It is, isn't it? It's a little bit different because I think what they've done with it is, you know, they've taken the tropes that we're familiar with, but they've done something a little fresher with it, I would say, because unexpected.
And you wouldn't necessarily. It's not like possession movies to me are like the bones cracking and the priest trying to that boring. Like it's not my thing at all. So anywhere that they can make it a bit more different, a bit more varied, is always very welcome.
So the story with this is, it's residents of a small rural town. They discover that a demon is about to be born among them. They try and escape, but it might be too late. So it's basically brothers Pedro and Jamie. They discover a disemboweled corpse, which is really grisly. I mean, the first half, we were just discussing this before we started recording. The first half, the pace is really kind of wham bam, and then it does start to, I don't know, slow down towards the end. I guess that's the mood, isn't it? The finale is pretty grim. Without spoiling, it's quite depressing.
Yeah, I think re-reviewing it, I mean, this film comes up a lot in a lot of people's like, oh my god, all time, like best of 2020s. Re-reviewing it kind of reminded me of like, oh yeah, I actually didn't love it, which is very weird. And it's become one of those films. There's a few where everyone else raves about them. I completely agree with what you're saying. Like, I felt like the first half was amazing. Me and Chris were sat there watching it like, this is really good. Like it was very brave, like very kind of violent and gory and doing stuff I wasn't expected. But then I felt like it really just almost fell off a cliff from a pacing perspective about halfway through. There was a lot of films do that where you're like, oh, it's this part. And then that part of it normally will end and it will get exciting again towards the end. But it felt like it really just stops dead halfway through and then just never really picked up for me after that, which is a shame.
I think now I know what the second half is about. I think if I went into it a second time, and I'm going to watch this new 4K release because I've gone through the special features, which we'll talk about a bit later. But I think if I was to revisit it, I would enjoy it more because I now understand why the pacing did slow down towards the end, because obviously there's a reason for it. But I think you're right. I think the first half, there's so much more going on, and when you hear people that have seen it, they talk about it. There's always a couple of moments that they talk about, one involving a dog, pet dog, and the other one involving an axe, and that pretty much happens in the first 30 minutes. So you know, I mean, that obviously does please fans that like a bit more action with their horror movies, but I think with the story that they're telling, I understand why the pacing does slow towards the end.
Yeah, it's difficult, and I love a slow film. Like Lake Mungo is one of my favourite horrors, and everyone like hates on that for being so slow. Yeah. But I think because it's a mood piece and it's kind of consistent, I think with this it was like, wow, I'm there. This is exciting, and then it was like, oh come on, like this has gone a bit. It goes a bit sludgy. Like I just didn't really care about the characters as much in the second half. It was like, and also the main character makes so many bad decisions that it was kind of hard to like maintain sympathy with him. So
okay, that's interesting. I didn't really think that, but I can agree with you on certainly on that second half. It's written and directed by Damien Rugner, who Argentinian director. I think he's a really big horror fan, although initially he did mention in the interviews that with the special features, that initially he was into action films, because I think around about the time in the 80s, 90s when he was growing up, he was in, there was a lot of films like Rambo and all those kind of action films that were really big at the time, and he really enjoyed those, but that led him on to the more violent horror films like The Evil Dead. I think The Evil Dead, Sam Raimi's movie from 82, is one of his favourite horror films, so he's a big fan of the genre now.
Yeah, and that's very odd, because I mean it's almost like the inverse of his film is like the usual, because you want with a slow burn with an action film, and then you get your full on, like the last half will be the bit where it really ramps up. It's like a complete inverse of not only action films, but most horror movies will do the slow burn bit first, and maybe that's why I found it so jarring, because it's just such a gear shift. Like if you think about like the original Evil Dead or Evil Dead 2. All right, the slow burn isn't that long, but there's still that 20-minute ramping up period, and then it's just balls to the wall for the rest of it. I just found it really strange. Maybe you're right, maybe rewatching it and not expecting it. I think just when you're watching it, it was just a bit like, oh man, what
bit
happened?
of an anticlimax. Yeah, totally. Yeah, I'd be interested to see how I feel about the second time around, because I think now I've expected it. I think I will enjoy it more. But like I say, we gave it 4 stars at the time. I thought it was really good. I like the fact that, because they mention in the special features in the interviews, and there's a featurette. It's like an 8-minute featurette with the special features. They mentioned that what this film does really well is that it taps into terror and also horror, but obviously there is a difference between the two, because the terror is what you don't know is going to happen. It's like that anticipation, isn't it? There's something bad. It feels ominous, I think there's a real atmosphere, especially in the first half, with stuff you don't understand, because the possession is there. There's a possession element, but you don't know why. You don't know where it's coming from.
I thought it did that really well. There's a real sense of dread in the air, because there are certain moments, again, involving it, like the one involving a dog, where all the safety you would normally get in a horror film, all the rules of, things just get broken. Rules get broken quite early on, where you just think, oh my God, where's this going to go then? Because that's, we're already up here. And again, maybe that's another reason why the fall off is so sudden, because I expected it to keep escalating and getting worse, and then it sort of doesn't. It starts off as quite an expansive world and a universe, to then being quite a tight universe by the end with a very small amount of characters.
There aren't that many special features. There's commentary, which I always enjoy. Do you enjoy the commentaries with Blu-rays? Do you watch the film first and then go back, or?
With a commentary, it would probably only be a film where I'm really, really interested in it. So I'd have to be at that level of almost geekery where I want to know like every last bit about it.
Yeah.
Normally, I actually quite like the ones sometimes where they're not done by the director, like the ones where they're done by an actor or a film fan, because you get like slightly different viewpoints and things. And I think sometimes when I like the film, I get annoyed when I can't listen to it, which is ridiculous.
I know what you mean. We had one of those recently, didn't we, where there was, I think, a couple of fans that were doing the commentary on the special features. I think it actually was The Coffee Table, wasn't it? Which I think is kind of similar to this film. Not because it's like Spanish language, but I get that same vibe with this.
Yeah, you get just a very different kind of narrative. Like the directors, they're talking about scenes and how they were filmed, but sometimes you just want to. It's why we like reaction videos, right? Or like watch along things on YouTube, because you want to just hear how other people reacted to something the same as you did. So I really like that. But yeah, I wouldn't listen to a director's commentary unless I was like fanatically into the film.
Super geeky. Yeah. You've got like an 8-minute featurette, which is really interesting. Not much in the form of behind the scenes or deleted scenes, which is a bit of a shame, but I guess you have got that commentary, and that in itself I think is okay. I think that will keep people happy if they're really into this film. But like I said, there's not much apart from that and the interviews.
There's some quite long form interviews as well, right? And again, like I'd have to really love a film to want to listen to like half an hour of an actor talking about the role. But again, if you like the film and you're into it, I think you'd find it fascinating.
Yeah.
So,
and the director mentions in his interview that it was around about the time of the pandemic, and I think it delayed the process. Like a lot of films that we're seeing now, obviously a few years later, you do hear these stories of the delays and all the problems that came with that. And obviously, post-pandemic, you've got to, where everyone's got to be kind of on their own, or they've got to wear masks, so I think that does add to the pressures of making the film. And he speaks about, obviously working with children and animals, and the fact that I think that was one of the most difficult parts of making this movie, was that he had to, you know, abide by all the bureaucracy that came with, you know, all the rules that you have to abide to work with kids. So, you know, that was interesting.
And it was really like visceral, like so like it's gross. It's almost like a smell to the film. Like it's really like uncomfortable. That early scene with, I forget the character's name. Is it Uriel, the son, the one that's being kept in a cabin, and is basically the source of the infection.
That's the guy that's become rotten. They call them rottens, don't they? Or that they are rotten, but possessed by some demon, and he's about to. Isn't he about to give birth or something? That's it. There's like a demon. That's how the demon basically manifests. It kind of takes over bodies, and it was again so well done. I mean, we remember just watching that, thinking like practical effects are really good, but it's just disturbing and unnerving and all that stuff. Yeah, it reminded me of that scene in Seven. Do you remember when they go to that dark room and discover that body that's still alive? It's one of the jumpiest scenes in any film. And like you can see what's going on. I mean, what I will say, like, I don't know if you've seen his other film, Terrified. Yeah, really good. Did you enjoy that more than this then? I did actually, yeah. And I thought it was a bit more of a mood piece. It had less of a narrative. It was more like some of the imagery. I mean, there's that whole scene with the kid who's just a corpse. Yeah, he's sat at a table, isn't he? And he's got a bowl of cereal and I think a glass of milk as well. And it looks like he's died at the table, and he's decomposing. And that's one of the creepiest things in any film that I've seen. Is you're expecting him to move, and he doesn't. He's just sat there. I probably saw that when I was 40, and I think, God, in 40 years I've seen so many horror films, and there's something about that little kid doesn't even really do anything. He moves a couple of times, and it's subtle, but I think it just takes a certain kind of scare when you're so used to horror to get under your skin, and that really did. And I think it makes me excited for what that director will do next. Whether this film didn't really work for me, I still think there was so much in it to be excited for like future work of his. Yeah, totally. So, I enjoyed this as much as Terrified, and I think he's a really creative director, filmmaker, because obviously he's written this as well, and I think he knows how to tell a story and do it in a different way. And much like, we were talking about Bring Her Back as well, and the Philippou brothers, I think he's like them, he puts a slant on horror, he injects something a little bit different, and I think he's one to watch, definitely. That's it. I mean, horror's a funny genre. There are directors that I don't vibe with, but I'm sort of still grateful they're there. So like Oz Perkins, I don't think I've seen any Oz Perkins film that I've liked yet, but he brings something new to that genre, even though it's not for me. Yeah. Robert Eggers, which just kills me. I just can't get on board with his movies. They just don't do much. Did you not? Nosferatu, I thought was amazing. One of my favourite films of the year. Yeah, definitely. It was very good. It's just it's a film I know I will never go back to. It's just not something I would want to watch again. See, I preferred that to The Witch, or The Vivitch. The Vivitch. I don't even know how you're meant to pronounce it. Again, it's not very good. No, there's all these films that come up on lists, and I'm like, I want to love it because everyone else seems to really like it. It just didn't do anything for me. It's the same with The Lighthouse, completely went over my head. Yeah, but I haven't seen Oscar Perkins' The Monkey, the latest movie. I've seen Longlegs, which I frustrated me. Hated it. Yeah, you did hate it. I remember seeing your review. Yeah, The Monkey would. But again, so sort of grateful for those because there's a creativity to them that. All right, the film doesn't necessarily work, but you see within it there's something new. There's something that's going to push the genre on in different directions. So, there's a distinctive style, definitely. I mean, with Longlegs, obviously, it was a little bit reductive in parts. I guess he's inspired by a lot of people, as everyone is, because that's inevitable, isn't it, I guess? And I think, definitely, these filmmakers, these horror filmmakers have got a style. And, we mentioned Weapons. So with star rating, because we've obviously reviewed it before, I'm going to stay with a 4. I'm looking forward to seeing it in 4K. It's out now, actually. 4K, standard edition, Blu-ray. And it's a lovely package as far as I've seen. I didn't get the full review disc, but the box set looks great. I think you'd love it.
of course, like, it's definitely going to be worth your while grabbing hold of it. It's, you know, I think a lot of the Blu-ray releases, you're going to have to love the film to want to go and buy it.
So what's your star rating?
It's going to have to be a 3, I think, which I think reflects like the fact that I loved half of it. Yeah. And then it sort of fell off. So yeah, it's like my usual rate would be about 6 out of 10. So
there we go. Excellent. And Nancy Boys, your channel, your horror channel, lots of good stuff on there, lots of juicy stuff. What's happening?
Yeah, been pretty quiet of late. I kind of went and saw I Know What You Did Last Summer, and then just never got round to actually reviewing it, which again,
is that a reflection on the film that you can't be asked?
Actually, it's sort of the opposite problem. I actually watched all of them in a week, like, including the last one, which was the third one, which was I'll Always Know, I think it's called.
It's just ridiculous, isn't it? The way they keep changing the titles.
It is. And frankly, I didn't have the energy to do the ranking video I wanted to do, because I would have put the remake at number 1, which I know would have pissed everyone off. Because I don't think the original is that good, and I think it gets really overrated it's a very average 90s slasher. It's very enjoyable, it's very retro, but it isn't a good film. And I actually really enjoyed the remake. I thought it was a lot of fun. It was total nonsense, but it kind of knew it. I thought it was high camp. I don't know whether as a gay man I just got more out of it, because it's got a real camp sensibility to it, which I imagine for your average straight horror movie fan, talking men, they'll be like, oh, it's shit. Like, it's got all this ridiculous Gen Z humor. I'm like, I had a riot with it. We loved it. And it's silly, but it does stuff I thought was way more interesting than the original. So, but then I just thought, do I want to do a ranking video that puts that first? Because everyone's going to like.
I think it's good. It's good to be controversial though, because you'll get lots of comments, and that'll boost your video.
Well, everyone hated it. Everyone to really dislike the remake, and it's really not even divisive. I feel like most people, and I will normally happily call out a shit film, but me and Chris came out of it like, did you really enjoy that? Because I really did. And I just thought it did something new. It's got legacy characters, but it doesn't just throw them in as, oh, here's some people that will deliver a line or two. They actually make them integral to the plot and do stuff with them. And also there are a couple of like callbacks where I was like, oh my God, I was so excited. So,
well, to be honest, I wasn't bothered about it, but on your little mini review, I'm going to check it out now, I think.
Go and check it out. You may hate it, but if you lean into the fact that it's silly and ridiculous, I really had a good time with it. So
excellent. Well, it's good to see you, Dan. Thank you so much for that review. And if you want to check out the release, it is Second Sight Films doing another package. We've reviewed a few of those before, and I think there's another one coming, The Innkeepers, which is the movie from the director. Yeah, no, I remember seeing it, but yeah, I'd love to see the special features and stuff. So
I fell asleep in that film, not because of the film's fault. I watched it late at night and never got to finish the ending. Apparently, it's got a pretty scary and horrific like conclusion. So
we'll post all your stuff down below in the description box if people want to check out your channel. I think people should if they haven't already. And yeah, go and check out When Evil Lurks, and you can pick it up now. We'll see you on the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll catch you soon, Dan.
Cool. Thanks, Phil. Thanks for everything as usual.